to Leaders of Tomorrow Season 10. Tonight on the show, we're bringing you a special series that is called Eye on Dubai, focusing on innovation coming out of the Dubai UAE market. And like we're doing tonight on the show, focusing also on individuals who are making a difference in that region. We're in conversation with PNC Menon, founder chairman of Sobha Group. Also in the hot seat tonight is Ujjwal Jain of WealthDesk. For our Eye on Dubai special series, let me head on over to Karen Osman. Karen, good having you here back with us on the Leaders of Tomorrow. PNC Menon of the Sobha Group, in conversation with you, talking amongst other things, I understand about really what impact the bilateral trade between the Dubai UAE market and India is going to have. The group is a name to reckon with here in India. Everyone, I'm sure, knows what the company does, but he's talking to you about his early days. Take it away. What more can you tell us?
Hi, Sananda. Dubai is one of the fastest growing cities in the world, and the real estate industry is really capitalizing on that. Sobha Group has been in the region for over 40 years and has gone from a small interior firm to now having investments and developments across the GCC and beyond. Earlier today, I spoke to Mr. Menon, founder and group chairman of the company, to talk about the industry and his plans for the future. How has the Dubai real estate sector evolved over the last few years?
See, Dubai real estate is a very young business. It has got a story of only about 16 to 20 years. I started my business in 2011. The worst period was 2008 to 8 and 9. The market took a very big beating globally. It's not only Dubai. But then, the most beautiful, I used to always bet on Dubai, because I found that this is a country for the, Chinese have got Singapore, the Indians, Pakistanis, the Middle Eastern people, and part of Europe also, because we're closer to Europe, 7 hours flight. So this is a beautiful place for all these communities. The biggest thing, most important thing in this country is, I'll say very proudly, the ruler. So the real estate business here has got a potential, so long as the population growth of this country remains at I fluctuate, let's say about 3 to 6% population growth. Then there is a business of about 45 to 50 billion dirhams market size potential. So we are a small company. We are looking at 5 to 6 billion dirhams per annum. Last year we did about 4.5 billion dirhams. This year, I hope we will be close to 6 billion dirhams. So what I was thinking is, I want to have a niche company. And there is a space for niche company in this country. You've seen the quality of the product. If you are able to produce a good quality and deliver on time for a fair price, not cheap, fair price, the real estate business in Dubai is sustainable for the next 30 years.
With educational institutions opening in Dubai, such as IIT, what impact will the educational sector have on real estate here in Dubai?
Definitely. See, for example, you've seen what is happening. There are a lot of students traveling now. The affordability has gone up. I'm not only talking about India, Africa, China, all those people, they want to bring up their senior students outside the country. Here, I think this is going to be the best place for education. There's going to be education center, health center, tourism, finance center, all that, even manufacturing. I feel there's huge potential in Dubai for manufacturing. All these things will have a direct impact on the real estate business. So that's why I said we can only look up in this country. We don't have to look down. So it is going to be a reasonably guaranteed 30 years. Maybe there's a little bit of cycles will be there. That so long as you are capitalized very well, I think you can go through that part of the cyclical nature of the business.
Let's talk about sustainability, which is a central tenet of your company. What impact has this had on your business?
Eco-sustainability. This is also a very important part of our giving. So when you say that half of your wealth goes to charity, I will say we are also accountable for the ecosystem of the world. At least in your country where I live, or India where we do business, we are accountable. So I feel that we have started that as a program now. We already started looking at how to make it maximum eco-friendly, what business we do. And today technology is, thanks to internet, everything is available on the internet. And whatever happens in the world today, within 1 minute you see it in the internet. So with that kind of support, we should be able to contribute to the environment also, considerably, provided we're committed to it. I'm personally committed to it, that I should say. Not because of my age, because I feel that's one of the new generation like you. We should not suffer because of our misdeeds. So we have to be serious part, you have to be part, but we have to be more seriously into it. Look into so the world will change so rapidly in the next few years, especially in the environment. We have seen the disasters, the floods and the fire, etc., happening. And human beings are not able to do anything about it. Only thing is we got to be more disciplined. We should not do things which is going to ruin the environment. So I think you people are more conscious. Being a person in the business for the last 46 years, 53 years actually, I will say that, I believe strongly in the environment. We have to do everything possible to make sure that the environment is kept clean for at least next children and grandchildren and their children, all that will be beneficial. I'm sure with the awareness today going on in the world, there will be definite change in the next 20, 25 years. That's my advantage.
What are your thoughts on the recently announced Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement recently announced between UAE and India?
See, India is a big country, and this country, we have the highest trade, one of the highest trade business with UAE and India. And like I said, culturally, I feel that we are the same. There's no difference. It's very easy to deal for the GCC to or UAE to Indians and vice versa. There's no wall at all. This is one privilege I've seen. So culturally also we are connected, years and years together. And then as a human being to human being, we feel that we look the same. And even culturally, when I go deep, I find no difference between an Indian and an Emirati. This is because I have a lot of local friends, I find that it's the same like an Indian. I don't find any difference. See, my only real estate business is driven by only one thing, the population growth. Whatever could be the reason, so long as the population grows and the space is there and the government is looking for it. So with all that, you've seen the amount of changes the ruler has done in the last 1.5 to 2 years. It's like a miracle. No country is, before he talks, it is delivered. So it is, you've seen it. You've been a part of this life for the last 16 years. I've been here more number of years. But the delivery which happens in this country, which gives to a boost to the economy. Now, of course, real estate is the main vertebrae. I'll say the main vertebrae. So I'm in that business, fortunately. And so any decision, what I've seen the benefit of the government here. Very, very, very effective, very dynamic, and faster than, I think, all these missiles and this and that.
A recent survey by the Economic Times predicted that Dubai house prices are set to rise 2.5% in 2022. What are your predictions for the real estate sector?
According to me, immediately there cannot be a price rise. But over a period of time, it has to adjust the inflation here. Inflation generally is about 3%. And it will adjust 3% monetary value, it's more than enough. Because that makes it sensible for both the buyer and the seller.
Finally, what's next for Sobha Group?
I have up to 2025 of clarity. After 2025, in 25 itself, Next destination is going to be UK, because we feel that, we've got all the knowledge, international knowledge to do this business. And we are a case study at Harvard Business School. They teach backward integration in the real estate business. It is Sobha study. So we have the global understanding also how to do it. This is an international place, and the volumes are reasonably huge here. So I thought next extension could be UK, and over a period of time to Portugal. I'm too old for all that, but my son is going to join next year from India. He's going to shift here, and he should be joining in June 2023. And with that, it is my age also will be, I'll be 74 plus, 70 or close to 75 if I'm alive. And I think then the legacy continues.
As you heard from Mr. Menon, real estate continues to be a major force here in Dubai, attracting investors from all around the world. And as long as the population grows here, real estate is expected to continue to thrive. Back to you, Sananda.
Thank you so much for that, Karen. Let's slip into a short break. Ujjwal Jain joining us on the other side from WealthDesk. Back in just a moment. Welcome back with us here on Leaders of Tomorrow. And tonight on the show, I'm in conversation with WealthDesk, calling out the big trends when it comes to saving, investments, and anything to do with your money. Ujjwal, good having you here with us on the Leaders of Tomorrow, really talking about the big trends when it comes to how people are approaching their money and the big events which have impacted the way ordinary Indians are really looking at their money. Before we come to the top events that you want to call out for our viewers, very quickly, just talk to us about your entrepreneurial journey. Why did you decide to get started with WealthDesk?
The journey with WealthDesk is very long. So, after my engineering, I actually work for a Wall Street hedge fund. They are pioneers in how they have actually transformed how ultra HNIs invest in US markets as a hedge fund. Then I worked with MSCI in direct index business. Coincidentally, I happened to be in Mumbai for a JV which D-Shaw did with Reliance Industries, and then I got access to Indian markets. That time I realized that this was 2013-14, that if you look at the longer term perspective of how Indians invest in equities, the early stage green shoots of mutual funds penetration was happening. Broking was picking up. Thanks to Zerodhas of the world, the tech play to broking has completely transformed how broking is looked at now, just like how it has happened with banking and payments. So all this culminates into a situation where we can say that if I took a 10-year view back in 2013-14, I knew that the way equities will be looked at in India will be very different. Now, in order to solve a problem where you want to make equities penetration deeper into India, you need to take a very deep tech or a technology-led approach of how you can reimagine the way how people invest. And that led to the idea of WealthDesk. So what WealthDesk essentially does is that it's a B2B2C deep tech SaaS platform. So first of all, like building a tech-led SaaS platform in this space is slightly aspirational. So we took a very long-term view. So what we do on B2B, we bring in SEBI licensed entities, fund managers with relevant RIA license and research analyst license. They come on our platform, they create portfolios on direct stocks and ETFs, which we call as wealth baskets. And on the broking side, what we have done is that we have sort of taken a UPI kind of moment where we integrated with every broker, so that any customer on a broking platform where we are integrated, they can discover these portfolios, just like direct stock or a direct ETF, and they can invest in these portfolios, replicate the entire portfolio in their account. So sort of retailization of PMS sort of product available to retail investors. So what this has done is that on the broking apps, people who invest in direct stocks, they tend to actually not make money in the long run because that's not their day job, right? Because they have a primary other area to look at. So investing in direct stock is not easy. So investing with curated portfolios, what it does is that you are investing in a managed portfolio. So what happens is over a period, you regularly get updates in your portfolio, you approve that, and you consistently make money. And broking has moved from a transactional led platform to a more value or advisory led platform, and we are driving that play as a platform.
We'll come back and talk about your business in depth in just a moment, but I want to at this point set the stage for our viewers about some of the big events which have impacted the way people are approaching their money. First and foremost, let's talk about the pandemic. That, of course, has had a big impact in the way people are approaching most things, including how they're making and managing their money. But I want to hear from you, what perhaps are the one or two things that you're seeing as by way of behavior that thanks to the pandemic, people are approaching their money differently perhaps?
As a country, we are very conservative with our money. So with such tailwinds, what has happened is that people realize that it is very important to have secondary source of income because your primary sources can also get disturbed. And the fact it is very important to actually manage your savings money by creating sustainable wealth investments. So like investments in the right sources. Their equities market has taken a very mainstream route. Post pandemic, what has happened because people got time to retrospect their lives and understand how to actually build investment goals for next 5-10 years, and equities took a mainstream route. So that behavioral change has happened. The other thing is financialization of savings has been talked about a lot in last several years, over a decade, but post pandemic it took a very accelerated route where people actually have started to look equities market as very primary source of deploying their money versus traditional asset classes. So that financialization of savings is compounding very aggressively. And thanks to new age IPOs, many of these IPOs are around companies which we have seen started by people just next door in our house as a middle class or lower middle class Indians, and they aspired to build these great companies and took an IPO route. So people connect with these brands and they realize that how equities markets can help them to participate in their aspirational stories, because everybody wants to aspire to their journey. And these all compounded, and gradually that's what we are seeing is that the growth of equities market penetration in India is increasing, and savings money apportioned to capital market assets is increasing, and that is going to continue, I think.
I was going to call out the next big event for our entrepreneurs as IPOs. Now, let's continue talking a little more about IPOs. We are seeing a lot of blockbuster listings happening, but then once these businesses have opened, we are seeing, Zomato, we saw what happened with Zomato, Nykaa as well. There's a huge correction as far as valuations are concerned. Looking at IPOs, would you recommend for someone who's watching today's interview, since you're talking about staying invested for the long term, would you recommend IPOs a good route to look at the markets?
IPOs are great to get started with a company which you believe and you have understood their valuations. But whether you are investing in an IPO for the listing gains or for creating long-term wealth, that is still a problem which you need to solve at your end when you're deploying money. So some companies' valuations have been stretched out, and that's why they got corrected, or market does not believe that they command this valuation at this point, at least looking at their currently quarterly earnings. So all these definitely matters at the end of the day when you're investing in equities. And that is why we believe that while IPO is a great way to get into direct stock exposure, but in the long run to make money in equities, there are a lot of ways. You have to be very systematic. You control your behaviors, and that is why curated portfolios, which we talk about when we bring into retail investor on broking, they help to create systematic wealth, because you can't track every individual stock, whether pre-IPO, post-IPO, and during their quarterly earnings. So you need to be very well invested in that company to actually make sure that you make good money out of that.
Okay, another trend that we want to talk about, again, you mentioned that briefly, that is as far as a long-term view on the markets is concerned. What's the best way to do that? Would you recommend that SIPs for a small retail investor perhaps is the best way to do it? Or you invest directly in the market, but you stay invested for the long term? What do you recommend?
Yeah, SIPs are a great way to average out, because you can't time the market. So better to time your day every month or every quarter and just deploy and wait, average out in the long run. It's a great disciplined way to actually control your behaviors. The other is obviously that when you invest in any asset class, whether it is your real estate or equities or FDs or anything, you still need to look at your overall like investment goals, why you are investing, what's your risk profile, because today, let's say Russia-Ukraine crisis can give a 10, 20%, 30% drawdown in your portfolio. Are you prepared for that? Because if you need that money immediately for some immediate objectives, you can't take that money out because you are setting on a 10, 20% correction. So you need to be very well prepared in terms of understanding your overall asset allocation. Asset allocation is something which is not talked about in India very well, is that how you deploy your money between equities, gold, ETFs, real estate, and fixed income assets, and how to change that asset allocation over time. So I think platform like ours and many others are trying to build that, bring that in the consumer space directly as a simple and easy to understand way, so that systematically you make money. So I think purely as an investor, the object, you should definitely stay invested in the long run. And I think diversification is the best way, whether you take create a very diversified portfolio on your own, or take portfolio approach to different themes, sectors, asset classes, and build a portfolio versus trying to have concentrated bets on specific stocks. That is not right for a retail investor.
Completely out of time in tonight's conversation. Thank you so much for watching. Our numbers are on your screen if you want to reach us. Have a good night.